Reddit, what is the creepiest true event in recorded history with some significance? Surprised not to see this here already. A man named Richard Parker is a character in a book, in 1838. Poe's only novel was published, The Narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym of Nantucket. Partway through the book, the crew of a ship called Grampus finds themselves with a busted boat and no food or water. They manage to catch a tortoise and strip off its shell, but eventually, in order to survive, the crew draws straws to figure out which of them will be sacrificed to provide meat for everyone else. The death straw goes to a former mutineer named Richard Parker, who is promptly stabbed to death, his head, hands and feet thrown overboard. You can read the whole grisly thing here. This keeps the floating Donner Party alive a little bit longer, but the two remaining crew members are still on the brink of death when they are finally rescued. 40 years later, this happens. In 1884, a yacht named the Mignonette left England, headed toward Sydney, Australia. The yacht wasn't really made for trips around the world, so it shouldn't have been a surprise to anyone when it sank in a storm. The 4-man crew barely escaped in a lifeboat, but they definitely didn't have enough provisions for survival. They did catch a turtle and eat it, but just like their counterparts in the 45-year-old Poe tale, they needed more if they were going to be found alive when a rescue boat found them. One man, a 17-year-old named Richard Parker, fell overboard and then made the mistake of drinking seawater to attempt to quench his thirst. Parker started going downhill fast, and that's when his fellow survivors decided they would kill him to ensure their own survival. The men had considered drawing straws, but they figured Parker was so far gone they might as well kill him and drink his blood while it was fresh, instead of risking the contaminated blood that might occur if they just waited for him to die due to illness. After stabbing Parker in the throat with a penknife, the 3 men devoured him. They were rescued a few days later. And this is also why the tiger in Life of Pi, a story mostly set upon a lifeboat, was named Richard Parker. The story of Grigory Rasputin and the circumstances of his death. It goes roughly like this. Rasputin was a very large man standing 6 feet 4 inches, 1.93 m, and was a sort of advisor to the royal Romanov family of Russia. He repeatedly healed their fragile hemophiliac son, or so it is reported. He never really belonged to any specific sect per se, but was said to be a holy man. Many rumored him to be an agent of the devil or some possessed being. Pictures of the dude are creepy. Anyway, among political strife and rumors that Rasputin was seeking more power, he was ordered to be killed. He was given a nice meal laced with enough poison to kill several men. After a while, with no reaction, they promptly shot him in the back. Rasputin fell, but regained his strength and attacked his assailants. He was shot again in the head, and beaten vigorously. They then wrapped him up and threw him in the Neva River. Later it was discovered that Rasputin had attempted to claw out of the ice and finally drowned. This guy, rumored to have supernatural powers along being very large and creepy, survived thorough poisoning, shots to the back and head, beaten and thrown in the river, and finally drowned under the ice. You forget he was Russia's greatest love machine. The Jonestown massacre. Nearly 1,000 people died, including men, women, children, and a US representative. The recording of Jim Jones's final speech is truly nerve-wracking. The sounds of people applauding his words, then of them dying in agony shortly after while he continues to speak, just sends chills down my spine. Creepiest and most disturbing is the severed dog head that was kept alive with a machine in the 1920s. Sergei Brukhanenko kept the head of a dog alive with a primitive heart-lung machine. The research learned from such experiments led to the development of the first heart-lung machines, which are now used regularly for all types of cardiac and great vessel surgeries. Overnight at the Battle of Shiloh, the 6th of April 1862, Pittsburgh Landing, Tennessee. The battle to control a pivotal portion of the Mississippi River had been going all day, and the fighting had been vicious and relentless. As night fell, hostilities died down. Before long, a storm came along that brought a torrential downpour and lightning. The primary sources, letters, journals, etc., that came from that night all tell a similar story. As rain poured down, lightning strikes came from the sky around midnight to light up the battlefield. The effect was to momentarily lift the darkness and let the tired soldiers see the mutilated bodies of their fallen comrades all around them. Missing limbs, parts of their skulls, lying dead or occasionally half dead in puddles and elsewhere. Additionally, there are multiple sources talking about hogs feeding on the bodies at night, a number of which were not even dead yet. The moaning and wailing of soldiers taking their last breaths lying on a bloody battlefield in darkness as rain pours down and lightning flashes around them is something that has always stuck with me. And to think the soldiers that made it through day one knew that at the first hint of daybreak they'd be firing and be fired upon once again is just chilling. Too late now, but the 1956 B-47 disappearance is creepy as frick. Fact: 1. Plane carried nuclear materials. 2. Plane was refueled in the air. 3. Plane was never seen again. No wreckage information. No signals. Just vanished into thin air. Riddle me this? Someone was traveling through time and needed a refuel of nuclear stuff. I thought that story from yesterday about Kim Jong-un having his uncle torn apart by dogs was one of the craziest things I've read in a while. As psychology student, the ice pick lobotomy is something that makes me feel so sick. I won't go into how he developed his method, but it basically involved putting an ice pick under the patient's eyelid and then moving it backwards and forward to sever the prefrontal cortex and the frontal lobes of the brain. He then set up a van which he would travel round giving these lobotomies to. He performed it on thousands of sufferers, including kids as young as 4. This made me ill writing it. Back when he was a 4-year-old, Adolf Hitler was rescued by a priest from drowning in an icy river. Just imagine how different history would be if he wasn't saved. Also, in World War I a shell hit his trench and killed everyone but him. The station nightclub fire. Not so much the fire itself, but the video footage of it. The person behind the lens was filming people who were dying before their eyes in a doorway. That video is absolutely haunting. Even more coincidental, the local news was filming a story about how easily the place could catch on fire and how they need to update the fire code and better enforce it. Well, it's not really just one event, but there have been 5 recorded times where over 50% of plant and animal life on Earth has gone extinct within a geologically short amount of time. These are known as the Big 5 mass extinctions and are completely random, as in, we have no idea and cannot predict when the next one will be. Shanti Devi was born in Delhi, India in 1926. From the age of 4, she claimed to remember details of a past life of a married woman in Maratha named Lugdi Devi. She also remembered being married to a man named Kedarnath and dying 10 days after giving birth to a child. Eventually, her headmaster found a merchant named Kedarnath living 145 kilometers away in Maratha who verified every single one of these details. Further investigation involving an independent commission from Mahatma Gandhi and later a number of sociologists, anthropologists and psychologists gave further evidence that she was indeed the reincarnation of Lugdi Devi. The commission eventually concluded that she was the reincarnation of Lugdi Devi. She recognized any family member of Lugdi's that she met as Shanti and even recited a number of details such as promises Kedar failed to keep on Lugdi's deathbed, money stashed in a secret place and the layout of furniture in their marital home before she died. So far, there has been no scientific explanation of this case and many scientists still dismiss it, and similar cases, as fraud. The insanely creepy coincidence of the Titanic and the book Futility, Wreck of the Titan, which was released 14 years before the Titanic sank. In the book they describe the Titan as the largest craft afloat and the greatest of the works of men. Both the Titanic and the Titan was 800 feet long, British owned, and sank after hitting an iceberg in the North Atlantic in April, around midnight. He writes that the Titan crashed into the iceberg at 25 knots, 400 miles from Newfoundland. The Titanic crashed into the iceberg at 22.5 knots, 400 miles from Newfoundland. Both had too few lifeboats to save all passengers. However, the Titan had 4 more than the Titanic. World War I seemed to be destined to happen. Franz Ferdinand was in an open car parade through Sarajevo when a group of assassins planned to kill him. One of the assassins managed to throw a grenade, but Franz's driver avoided it and blew up under the car behind them. The car sped away and the assassins dispersed. Ferdinand decided to go visit those injured in the bombing, but his driver got lost and had to turn around. In doing so, the car stalled in front of a cafe where one of the assassins was having a failure sandwich. He looked up, saw the Archduke and his wife stuck in the car. He walked out, took out a pistol and shot them both dead. This moment of happenstance caused Central European powers to declare war on Serbia and what would become the allies of World War I. The guy who threw the grenade took a cyanide pill right after and jumped into the Miljacka River. His suicide attempt failed, as the cyanide only induced vomiting, and the Miljacka was only 13 centimeters deep due to the hot, dry summer. Somehow, the ancient Egyptians knew that Sirius was a 3-star system when astronomers only discovered and confirmed it in 1995. To me, all of the tinfoil hatters were right reveals. That there was indeed a shady backroom of powerful people doing Libra fixing. That the financial crisis was done willfully and knowingly, e.g., Goldman trading against their own clients. Many other internal memos from various places involved revealing many knew about the level of toxicity etc. Or even things like the takedown of the Bank of England by Soros. Then all the reveals around they really are watching our every move. NSA Prism full take capabilities, essentially rendering things like Toaded. The willingness of everyone to do the secret agencies work for them via Facebook by detailing their every move, social connection and meaningful event, like and dislike. Total self-surveillance aids total state surveillance I guess. Basically almost everything you always thought was too nuts to be true only to find out it was and then some. These are not just the creepiest true events, they also remain the most relevant and real world impacting things today. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.